Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me, as always, are my go-to podcast compadres, Mr. Joe Lever.
Mr. Jimmy Good, at your service, pal.
Thank you very much, and Mr. Levi Fletcher.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, look at that. Hi. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thank you so much for being here, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And as always, thanks to all of our lovely Legionnaires out there who are listening. We've been doing this for like 170 some odd weeks in a row, and I'm definitely not going crazy. But we always like to talk about everything in entertainment here. He's going to be fine. I made him laugh before we started today, so don't you worry about him. He's not under the weather. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. No, he had some Gatorade up the nose. I made a very funny joke. Anyway, we talk about everything in entertainment here. We're talking games, movies, TV shows, just all that stuff we love. And this week, we only have two things we really need to get into. We're going to talk about Hobbs and Shaw later on, so if you want to go hear the spoiler-free portion of that, there should be a timestamp for you, and then there'll be a spoiler discussion after it. However, let's start off with some really interesting news. The very thing that I really wanted to have specifically Joe on here to discuss. We got some news about Venom 2. Now, Venom was a film that made a ton of money and basically made Sony say, hey, we should do our own Spider-Man universe. And it's like, I wish you wouldn't do these things, Sony. But they did it anyway. We didn't have a director for Venom 2, but guess what? We do now. And it's the one and only Andy Serkis. Andy flippin' Serkis. Joe, immediate thoughts.
My nose is burning. He told the joke earlier before we hit record, and
I already told him.
Take lemon lime Gatorade, and I don't recommend that coming through your nasal cavity. It burns. It burns.
You should be used to it with all the cocaine. No, just kidding.
That's why it burns so bad. The scarring. Oh God.
Rated T for teen.
One second. All right, now we're good to go. Okay. Yeah, so it could be pretty good, Jimmy. It could be pretty creative. He's a creative fellow, artistic, as you will, and can take. I think he'll be good for the action sequences out of Venom and whatnot, given his background, right, and the characters he's played in the past. I think he's got a good eye for that kind of stuff. It might bring a little bit of, I don't know. When you say Andy Serkis, for some reason, yeah, okay, I think of Gollum, Schmeagol, and Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. I mean, most well known for, right? But also in Marvel's Black Panther and other Marvel movies, plays kind of a sinister character. For some reason, when I think of him, I think of the word chaotic or zany, mainly just because of his Marvel character. And I hope maybe he brings a little bit of that to the movie. I think he'll be good to harness the reins on Carnage.
Yeah, that's the thing is we had that Woody Harrelson tease at the end so spoilers for Venom for people who haven't seen it. But anyway, I'm pretty sure Carnage will be the next villain. Just get rid of that wig or whatever. But I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool because the physicality of Venom I think was something they didn't do enough with, because he's a big kind of hulking guy, and I think he can have a lot of fun.
The initial budget I don't think was enough to really show off the Venom character himself.
Yeah.
That major fight sequence, which while awesome, was a lot of jump to this, jump to that, smoke. Oh yeah, good thing they brought smoke bombs, and he's jumping around and you don't quite see everything. Now I hope they can kind of show a little more Spider-Man-esque, if you will.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, see him swinging around and stuff. I
Dude,
just thought it was
such a cool character, and they finally didn't botch him like they did in the Sam Raimi trilogy. I just think, yeah, they've got a good foundation laid, and I think if they improve upon the last one, it'll do well again, because the last one, let's admit it, it was kind of, formulaic, pretty. I would almost call it mediocre, but it has good vibes about it, and it has the makings to be something better, which now that it did so well, I think it should, really take a step up on the ladder, climb a couple of rungs in quality, better quality.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, totally. Levi, how about you, man? How do you feel about this directorial kind of information that we're just getting now?
Yeah, it looks promising. I mean, Andy Serkis, didn't he direct? What did he recently direct?
It was like Mowgli, like
I thought it was going to be a
2001.
lot better than it turned out to be. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it. But anyway, are you excited about this information though?
Sure.
Sure. He's bloody Gollum, man. He played King Kong. He was Caesar. Like,
Give him to Marvel.
oh, you want him to like be a director from the Marvel films.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, give Venom to like the MCU.
oh, gotcha. Okay, that's what you mean. I was like,
Give
okay,
him back to Marvel.
yeah. I was like, what is he talking about? I don't know. I guess my other question for you too is that he ended up being like second unit director for like stuff like The Hobbit. Does that like paint him in a good light or a bad light in your eyes?
Well, that's funny because you'd think that he would have a lot more of a better input, and maybe he couldn't make a lot of changes, but those were some of my least favorite films. So out of the series of The Hobbit, so I don't know. I don't know what he can do here.
Or out of like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, because he learned a lot from being on the set of Lord of the Rings, and I think that's why they were like, "Yeah, let's give you all this like go for The Hobbit," and then it just ended up not.
I would like to think, yeah, I would like to think of it this way. He had that ability to direct in there, but they already chose their lane on the highway. It's not like you could take this off ramp or on ramp to the other highway to go more
Yeah,
realistic, like Lord of the Rings was practical. They were already on that lane of let's rely heavily on CGE, and it just wasn't quite as impactful as Lord of the Rings for multiple reasons. I don't think we need to get into it, but I don't think that's due in part to him. So, but he did well considering the lane he was in and what he had to work with, right? So,
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you guys. I am hopeful with him and his kind of his acting history that he'll basically improve Tom Hardy's performance even more so, even though I thought it was probably the best thing about Venom. I just really hope that whatever it is, it does lead it back to MCU stuff because this is such a cool character, and I hope that just because of the success of the first one, that doesn't mean that it was too successful where Sony's like, why would we have to share anything with them? It's just like, please make this work. I don't care how you make it work. And
Why was there a change in directors anyway?
I don't remember. I looked into it briefly. I don't know. The original director wasn't coming back for one reason or another, and it sounded like there was a group of directors that they were looking at potentially to come and do this sequel, and Andy Serkis was the one that they kind of ended up going with. And again, I think what's nice about him is that there's kind of this prestige with him, even though like as far as directorial stuff it hasn't been like as critically acclaimed, but he as an actor is so well known even though you never really see his face too often. But I think that kind of gets a little bit of buzz around this film, that a lot of people, this kind of series that some people I think really are excited about, but there's not like, oh my god, I can't wait for the sequel to Venom. It's like we finally got the Venom movie, but you're gonna have to really do something big, I think, to make people like really stoked for a sequel. And I think having him as a director kind of brings like this new flair and vibe to it, especially if you're like a big nerd like we are, where it's like for me, I'm just like I love Andy Serkis. I think he's one of the greatest actors of all time, and he just hasn't had his due, so now he's going to be a director, and it's like, yeah, give him
Yeah,
a shot, you know?
yeah, give him a shot.
Give him a shot. Exactly. Anyway, we have to check now the hypeometer for Venom 2. Joe, after hearing this, where is it for you?
higher than it would have been, I think. I like the potential for a bit of a change. How did I feel about the first one? I'm sure we could go back and look and see what I ranked it, but I'm sure it was somewhere. I'm sure it was good. Like I said, not a standout film at all, but formulaic, but worth the watch, right? My hypeometer for this one has to be 85 at the least.
Nice. All right. And Levi?
I'd give it like a 70. I thought Venom was just fine.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna top you both. 95. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
That'd be
my
that'd be too. That's way too much. I'll probably like 80. I don't know. I liked that first one. I want more Tom Hardy. I want to see more Tom Hardy. And if he's not gonna be Wolverine, for me, like let's just make him be Venom and make sure that he's in a bunch of stuff. And I just want to see him interact with other superheroes and villains. Like I don't want him to be stuck fighting other symbiotes forever, like because that seems really stupid to me.
Andy Serkis has a CGI Wolverine. Pull the plug. Pull all the plugs.
No, I meant Tom Hardy as Wolverine. No, yeah.
No, I'm saying like they announced like Andy Serkis has a CGI Wolverine.
Yes, because they'd be like Claw became Six Claws. That's a little Marvel joke there. Anyway, yeah, I just want to bring that up because it just kind of popped up here, and I was like, oh, we should talk about that because we're obviously some of us pretty big Venom fans. You can kind of see my Venom right over here. He's kind of tucked away as a picture. But let's move into the biggest thing we got to talk about this week. Joe, unfortunately, was too busy, but don't worry, Joe. We're going to catch you right up to speed. Spoiler-free for the first part before I flip the old spoiler switch over here. For the greatest film that has ever filmed or ever will be filmed, Hobbs and Shaw. And if you don't know what Hobbs and Shaw is, don't worry. We'll let you know. Basically, it's a spin-off from the Fast and Furious franchise where they distilled it down to the two best characters and were like, you get a movie now. You get a movie, just the two of you.
Tyrese Gibson was pissed.
He just seems like he's pissed all the time with some of that stuff. But then again, I was wondering about this too, because after Levi and I saw this movie, it seemed like in the movie that Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham were having a lot of fun together, and I hope that they became like friends through it because I don't want there to be like this kind of like Vin Diesel Dwayne Johnson thing where it's like they kind of hated each other like thing because it didn't seem that way because it definitely was setting this up to be
Well,
its own
without The
thing.
Rock, would he have gotten his chance to do something like that? Doubtful. I'm sure they have a decent relationship.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about Statham and The Rock.
Oh, like he wouldn't have had a chance to do something like this big, you mean?
Yeah, like without The Rock's involvement in the Fast and Furious franchise, and then, I don't think it would have had legs to go anywhere else.
I think it
Without
really needs both of them. I really don't think.
it does,
Yeah,
period.
yeah,
But I doubt there would be any ill will or bad blood, even
yeah.
even minute bad blood between
I
them.
only bring it up just because of the fact that like it seemed to be that way with Vin, like, and that was the thing. And I was like, I wanted to see if there's like a through line where like Dwayne Johnson would be like, oh, he's just like hard to work with in this franchise, like as this person. But it doesn't seem to be the case here. Not that we've heard anything, but regardless of all that, Levi, do you want to tell us what the story was for this film? Because it's definitely a doozy.
Cars
Mm-hmm. Check.
go fast. Explosions, big time.
Physics gone.
Physics gone. Realism gone. The Rock's sense of humor gone. No, I'm just kidding. There's no story to this.
What?
film.
There's a story?
Okay. Idris Elba becomes super powered and tries to destroy the world. In a nutshell.
He doesn't want to just destroy it. He wants to make it better, right?
Sure.
By getting a virus back in his hands and set it loose on the world?
Yeah, so they took like a super serum. Wait,
Oh, hold on.
gotta wait for that. Hold on. Sorry. Back over to you, Jimmy.
This is
'Cause I'll
the worst
spoil it all.
plot synopsis I've ever heard.
I don't know why you asked me to do it. I was literally just there for the ride. So
He's like, that explosion was bigger than the last one. No, that's good. It's good. No, okay. Deckard Shaw's sister, Miss Shaw, we'll call her because I don't remember her first name. I'm so sorry. She,
The Rock's love interest, right?
she injects this virus into her to basically prevent Idris Elba's character, Brixton something. Brixton from stealing it.
Black Superman.
Yeah, Black Superman. And Brixton works for basically like a shadow organization that basically wants to. I'm just gonna keep saying basically. They want to. Atreon. They're like a super like. It seems very what the next Ghost Recon's gonna be. So it's a group dedicated to making the planet stronger by like weeding out the weak. Like they're gonna cull the meek basically, and this virus would do that. And within 72 hours of injecting this virus, it'll like liquefy your internal organs.
Ooh.
So, and it'll become completely airborne, and within a week it would spread around the entire planet. So, to prevent Brixton from getting this, basically Miss Shaw injects it into herself, and it's a race against time to like get it out of her, but then also keep it out of the hands of this shadow organization. that has ties to Deckard Shaw, who was kind of a villain for. Well, he was the main villain for Fast and Furious 7. Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Sure.
Who's the bad guy in 8? Yes. Oh, I remember. It was it was Charlize Theron. 7.
Yeah.
He's the bad guy in 7. Kind of a good guy in 8. Spoilers for those movies. Who cares? But and then also you've got Dwayne Johnson, who works for another like a United States like military or like special covert ops. He's like the best tracker in the world, I guess. Like that's just who he is. So. Believe it or not, these guys hate each other and they fought each other in the past, but now they have to work together to prevent the world from getting destroyed. There's your synopsis. Spoiler free. Levi, can you tell me the things you liked about this movie without spoiling it?
Explosions go boom. I'm actually a fairly keen on. I like Jason Statham more than I like The Rock. I'll just say that. I just like the way he acts and like just watching him talk. It's mesmerizing. I don't know what it is, but he's a badass. Give him his own movie. But yeah, no, it was the action was fun. It was a very action-packed movie, and it moved along quite briskly.
Like, besides that? Like, was there any other specific moment that like you could tell us without spoiling it that you enjoyed, or any
Oh,
aspect
well,
of
the
it?
film ended. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. uh, without spoiling it, any scenes that I liked without spoiling it? What are you asking me?
Or just like general themes or feelings? Like, did you like how they played off each other?
Oh yeah, yeah, they worked well as a duo. It was fun. It's
Okay.
like it's like kind of like Batman and Superman, teaming up.
Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of a good way to put it, I suppose. Was there anything that you like really didn't like, or would you say like this is something you'd recommend for people or not recommend for people?
I mean, if you're looking for a realistic action film, this isn't for you. This is a very like, you know, true Fast and the Furious, like over the top, cars coming out of airplanes, locking into each other, becoming a transformer, and so
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, more or less, that's not completely wrong. Uh, I guess for me, I really enjoyed it. I think we saw it in one of the smaller theaters, so like the sound wasn't there. I don't think it was the movie's fault, but I remember thinking like, oh, this is like a movie I want to see. Like I almost wanted to see it in IMAX just because it'd be like this big, just like, like it's just kind of vomiting explosions on you. But I think what I really enjoyed about it too was I'm with you. I like Dwayne Johnson, I really do, but I really like Jason Statham. And one thing that I found particularly kind of gripping about him is not only is he basically doing what he did a little bit in the movie Spy, where he's just like constantly like kind of talking himself up, but he has the skills in this movie to do it, and they always do like a steady cam for him usually during his fight scenes, like because he knows how to fight. Like if you go back and watch the old Transporter films, like kind of where he got his major start, you know that he is a very very good fighter. Like he has done some crazy choreography, so when he's doing stuff you're like, okay, that guy is like a really scary individual. So usually what they'll do is they'll have like The Rock or Dwayne Johnson fight, like it'll be like one big dude or just maybe like a couple dudes, but like every time Jason Statham has to fight people, it's like
How many
huh?
I was gonna say how many freaking action franchises is this guy in? Because I forgot he was in Transporters. So
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. But like they make him fight like 10 dudes at the same time, and
yeah.
like you're like, okay, yeah, he's a little like overpowered in that sense, but like you get that he's just a fit dude. And I don't know, there's something about him, and I love the whole Shaw family. If people remember correctly, it's not only him; it's Luke Evans who played Dracula for Dracula Untold. He's been in other stuff too, and
Is
also
he dead?
I don't remember. I don't think he's dead because he was in 8 briefly. I don't, but I don't. They said
Oh, wasn't
something
he?
in the movie about him maybe being. I don't know. But I think. Oh, sorry. They talk about like him having to kill a brother, but I think it was like a brother in arms. It wasn't like his actual brother. But Helen Mirren is their mom. Helen Mirren. She's only in it for a little bit, but she's also amazing. I love Helen Mirren. She's up there with like Ian McKellen for like old school actors like that are really good. Um, yeah, and then obviously the newcomer, whose name I keep forgetting, but she was also in Mission Impossible Fallout last year at this time. She was the White Widow in that, but she's Deckard's sister,
Because
Mistra.
she's funky.
And she's spunky. She's spunky, and she's also like pretty talented, and she is not. opposed to fighting at all, like which is cool. Like, and there's even a moment too. It's not really a spoiler, but Hobbs he kind of says something to Shaw because Shaw's like, "Hey, you're only doing this because you want to get with my sister," and Hobbs is like, "Hey, man, this isn't the 1960s. I can't just like save the world and just get your sister. She's one of the most powerful and scary women on the planet. But if she wants to be with me, you know, like that's her choice. I'm gonna respect that." But he was like, "I'm not doing this because I want to like get with your sister." And I was like, "Oh, that was kind of a nice thing for like a huge action hero to say, not just be like, 'Yep, I get the girl, no matter what.'" Like, and their chemistry, I wouldn't say was like super there because they kind of tried to tease at that a few times, but it was like, yeah, action set pieces, kind of CG a little much, especially after seeing Fallout, which we shouldn't compare everything to Fallout. I know Levi, we talked about this after we saw the movie, but that Fallout still is kind of like the new bar for like a pure action movie because that movie is just like so much
It was so
practicality.
tight,
Yeah, and then
like
like
so tight.
the only part that feels very CG is like the helicopter sequence at the end, where you're like, okay, obviously they couldn't like be like, all right, how do we get two helicopters in a mountain and we have a hook that sometimes moves when we need it to? Like, it's like they couldn't do that. But I thought this movie was exactly what it was going to be, and they show pretty much everything in the trailers. And I think the dynamic and the comedy is kind of the main focal point, and it does pretty well. And I think a lot of it felt ad-libbed, where it was just like Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson sitting in a room just like shouting insults at each other just about like their appearance, and it was pretty great. Like I like that. Like I can watch 3 or 4 movies of that, and I think that's exactly what they're gonna do. Like they're just gonna be like, and spin off your own series, like
Yeah, I
which.
think the comedy was on point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's a few times in the theaters where I was just like, oh my god, like they kind of said stuff to each other that I was like, that's pretty rough. But it was very like there was some people who really got a kick out of it. And yeah, I think Joe, you would really you'd really appreciate it. But
I don't
Joe,
doubt it.
before we get into spoilers, do you have any questions, just kind of like broad questions that you have for us as someone who hasn't seen the film that could either sway or kind of make you want to avoid this film?
No, I pretty much know what to expect or knew what to expect out of it.
Fair enough. All right, well, if it's okay with you boys, I'm gonna flip the spoiler switch. Ready? It's not really much. I put the sound effect in.
Hey, rubber gloves, make sure you're grounded.
No, it's good. Levi, do you wanna what would you like to spoil first? Oh, we didn't even talk about Idris Elba. Idris Elba's great, and I really like him. And I think, I guess he's kind of spoilery, but like you said, they kind of give him superpowers. And what did you
We
think
all
of
know that, yeah.
what did you think of Black Superman, Levi?
Yeah, I like Idris Elba. He was quippy and witty and fun all at the same
All the
time.
things.
You
Pretty suave for a for a villain, I should say.
okay? You thought he was fun because I found him I felt like he was kind of depressed sometimes. He was just kind of like, I gotta do
Oh
this.
no, I got like a fun feeling from it because he almost seemed to be to me enjoying himself, like kicking their ass.
That's true, especially after being Heimdall, and even in the beginning, he does literally say to these guys, they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Bad guy." Like, it's just
Yeah.
like that's the type of movie. Also, because he has these superpowers. So what is he? He's increased strength. He has like a bulletproof vest. He can do this thing where like his motorcycle is like a transformer. It's kind of like the GI Joe suit, if you remember that at all, Joe. Where it's kind of like this. It was like a suit where they could like roll and dodge and weave with it, but his motorcycle would kind of work independently. It was like his own Mjolnir. And he could like run. He would run at it would run to him, and they would like go together, and he would like be on it. Like he could kind of like spin and jump on it like that, and he could
Cool.
use it in like a ton of different crazy ways that made absolutely no sense. But it made him feel very like Terminator-esque. Like you could
Yeah,
stop
'cause
all
I'm
these
like,
other
are you
guys.
human or are you like, do you have any human parts to you still at all?
Yeah, and he did have this cool like almost like a Sharingan thing, but he had this computer in his mind or in his eyes that would like it would kind of like show someone running at you like about to attack and say like attack imminent, like here's the percentage, and it would tell like the force behind it and everything, which is kind of cool. So when he fought, it was great because he could like if he went one on one with someone, he could just be like he could take him apart because he just be like whoom, like that. You just be like you couldn't stop him because the computer would be like, hey, they're gonna attack here, here, and here, and you just gotta block him. It's like Iron Man versus Captain America. So
And he had that like planted within his
yeah,
what?
yep, this like super tech corp, and they showed one scene of it where they're like kind of working on his spine because his spine had been like destroyed, and he had a bullet in his head because Deckard Shaw, Jason Statham's character, had worked for this group for a while or worked with him and had to kill him at one point, but apparently that bullet didn't take or whatever. But so they brought him back to life and they like gave him all these augments, and basically this group. The one weird thing, and Levi, maybe you understood this and I didn't. Like he got all these superpowers, right? This guy Brixton. Why don't you give it to like 2 or 3 of these
Oh.
other dudes? Like I was like, just any of them.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just thinking about that. Because he says, he's like, boys, this is how you earn your upgrades.
yes. Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was kind of cool and kind of dumb though too. But they had guns, Joe, that like you had to verify, like with a handprint or like a glove, that would say like it would only work if you had that. So you couldn't like beat a dude up and take his gun and shoot him. It wouldn't work that way. And I was like, I guess if you're like a super tech company, you'd probably have guns like that, but they use it at the end to like kind of hack all the guns so they don't work, so it becomes very like
That
tribalistic.
part I
fighting.
did not care for.
Okay,
No.
what didn't you care for?
I just didn't like that they could just hack their guns like that and they like just magically don't work.
Yeah, that way they could fight him with like an axe.
Literally just a setup of like a war scene of like melee weapons.
They got to use bats and
That
stuff.
movie just
man.
had so much going on for it. It was like we're gonna take Lord of the Rings and push it into like a
They always do that.
Hawa-
Remember when Vin
Hawaiian
Diesel?
theme.
It was Fast 7, and he's like, sometimes a street fights back, and that was the one where they used like dual wrenches, like him and Jason Statham.
That's cool. That shit's cool.
You like the part where Vin Diesel like broke a freaking parking garage, like
Yes.
with his foot?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think my favorite thing though in this movie, besides the banter back and forth between the two leads, especially when they first meet, and they get to use their one F word, but they both get to say it because they do it simultaneously, and they do this for a good chunk of the first part of the movie. Joe, you might like this too. They'll like bisect the screen, and it'll show both of their lives happening simultaneously and all of the similarities and differences. And I love that because it'll be like, Jason Statham, it's rainy in London and he's in his amazing car, and then he'll shoot, but at the same time you'll see Hobbs like in Los Angeles, like on his motorcycle or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like, or just something different, and it's just like it shows that they're different, but they're also pretty similar, and that starts to bleed through more and more. And then when they start working together, you feel like they earned it because like most of the movie is like, screw you, dude. But then like eventually it's like they have this moment where they're like, all right, we got to work together, and that's how they beat Brixton, is because they decide, they're like, all right, if one of us takes a punch, that means another one can land a punch. And they kept doing like this almost Matrix-y slow motion thing, but it looked really cool. So like it would show like The Rock getting like destroyed in the face, like ooh, like that. But then it would show like Jason Statham like elbowing like Idris Elba in the face, like boom, like that. It looked like really brutal. And the way they finished the fight, I won't spoil that part, but it is really good. And you're like, oh, like the whole audience is like, whoa, like what did you do? Like you didn't kill this guy, but like he's not walking anywhere for a bit, Like, it was just like,
oh, they broke his spine, huh?
It's pretty brutal. Yeah, Levi, did you enjoy that last fight scene?
I did. I enjoyed the last culmination fight scene more than the Samoan war.
Yeah,
deal.
that part was kind of like, it was fine. I get that they're trying to make it a little different than just like running around like everybody just shooting guns. Because if that would have happened, it would have been a bloodbath. It would have been like this paramilitary group would show up and everybody had guns, and it would just been like, kill everyone. They can't hide. They're like in these tin houses. It was not gonna matter.
Yeah, the movie was long. I mean, one thing I can really say I liked about it is that it did have a ton of set pieces. So you really get to move around the world quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. And if I hadn't seen the trailer, the ending in Samoa, I would have been completely blown away with, because I would have been like, oh, they'll do it at that military compound, like the silos and stuff. That'll be the end of the movie. But they're like, nope, we're going here, and it was a completely different change. I felt like it was more family focused, which I liked, because like this movie kind of at the heart of it is all about family, and then kind of making new family. Like that, I thought was really cool. But him going back to his homeland, and I think some of those people are actually related to Dwayne Johnson, like the people who were at like the end there. But it was cool, and I like that he's kind of using his celebrity status, and this franchise is doing this too, where they're lifting up different cultures, like to be like, hey, you know what, just because we've always been hanging out like in Los Angeles or New York or even like Tokyo or something, like they're showing a spotlight on the world that we haven't gotten as much of yet, even though I feel like between him and Jason Momoa, like we're getting like a lot of like the haka dance, like when then they go and they attack and stuff. I was like, I like it. I thought it was really cool. I do think there was that it was during that ending where Levi, you're joking about the cars latching together. Joe, you'll hate this part, but they basically like catch onto a helicopter. You see it in the trailer, and then all these cars link up almost magically, where it'll be like a dude on the back of a truck who takes two hooks and like throws the hooks at the axle of the car behind him, and they'll both just like crunk, like it's like perfect. Like everyone's like landing these amazing like throws, so all these cars link together, so the helicopter can't take off with Miss Shaw stuck in there, and they kind of like pull this helicopter back down. Again, we're not watching this because it's like, well, how realistic was that? Like Tom Cruise almost died. Like they couldn't do this stuff. But I kind of like how it bathes and revels in its own ridiculousness. Like it knows it's a dumb movie. Like it gets that. And then it has two cameos in it that I thought were completely unnecessary. Levi, which cameo did you hate the most?
Um. Oh, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
Don't you remember? He was like, I'm gonna be your third partner. I'm gonna be your third partner. I can get you whatever you need."
Oh, Jesus Christ, Kevin Hart. Um.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes
boy.
way.
I don't think we ever flipped a spoiler switch, by the way.
I did. Yeah.
But
You didn't.
oh,
I,
you did.
I did.
You
I
didn't
said there
go
was
back.
It was great. Yeah, it wasn't as crazy this time. The
That's-
juices weren't flowing as crazily. I don't know.
That's because there are not too many spoilers for this one. Levi, did you?
Yeah.
Was there one that you liked over the other though?
But you already had enough star power in this movie. You didn't need to bring these two knuckleheads in.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay.
I would
in
have.
what
I would have
capacity
taken
were
Kevin
they
Hart
in?
though. Like I would have taken Kevin Hart out of what they put him in and just replaced Ryan Reynolds with him.
Yeah. So we'll tell you the capacity, Joe. Basically, Ryan Reynolds is working as like CIA, and he like tries to loop Hobbs into this whole thing, and that's his contribution. But then he'll like call him once in a while, or he's always listening in, and they do this whole bit at the end of the movie where like Ryan Reynolds is in a bad situation, and he has to take out these guys. But then after the credits, there's like more of that, and it seems it feels super forced. He's just so Deadpool now. I just can't even like every time I hear him talk, just like everything's a joke all the time. Every little thing's a little joke, haha, little quip, haha. It's just like
But he's always been quippy. Like
not a,
waiting. Like it was all quips.
definitely maybe was not quippy. Like he was a little quippy, but he had a daughter. Anyway, he was just annoying. But then Kevin Hart showed up, and then I thought, oh, maybe this is gonna be the on-running gag. I thought it was gonna be like the Rule of Three, where they were gonna throw another, just like they're like, oh, we'll just do like an old school like '80s action movie. We'll just keep throwing like these big stars, because like they're sitting on a plane and they're arguing, and then right before they're about to fight each other, Kevin Hart turns around. He's like, "Yeah, I'm an air marshal," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we knew you were an air marshal." And he's just doing his Kevin Hart spiel, like it's just Kevin Hart, just like, and they just thankfully they found this guy because they needed a helicopter later or a plane or whatever, and he was an air marshal and he could get them that. I was like, dude, you don't even know these people. You don't know who these two people are on this plane, and you're like, I'm gonna help you. I want to be your brother. Like I want to help. It's just like, what? It just goes with the
It
ridiculousness.
felt forced. Yeah,
Yeah.
both cameos felt forced. I do like Kevin Hart, by the way, but it felt forced.
Yeah. I wanted more Helen Mirren. I was like, why are we losing screen time for Helen for these two guys who definitely don't need it? But I was like, it's already a buddy cop movie. Like, we don't need to make this. And they even made a joke with Kevin Hart because Kevin was like, that we should be three. There should be three of us. And they're like, yeah, two is enough. Like, I think just the two of us is enough. Like, almost like the movie, like the writers
They're
were like,
making fun, like they're if you ever look at like Dwayne Johnson's Instagram and whatnot, they actually like comment back and forth to each other, or they'll make a post and like call each other out, like this small glass of tequila is almost as big as my friend little Kevin Hart or something like that, and Kevin will do like a retaliation post. It's like a funny little quips back and forth. And like I feel like they brought that reality of pop culture into the show, into the movie, thinking people would get a kick out of it, right? But
but they didn't.
um,
Yeah, I don't know. It was fine, but I agree with Levi. It feels really forced. Joe, when you watch it, you'll be like, okay. And it would have been one thing if they did it like once, but each of them shows up like two or three times a piece, and you forget that they exist, and then they just show up. Like it'll be a phone call, and it'll be like, oh, hey, Kevin Hart's on a toilet, and it's funny, but he's talking to them, and he's like, it's like,
the Ryan Reynolds thing, though, at least that seems somewhat not as pigeonholed, or like it makes some sense. But and a character like him, I mean, yeah, I get how you would assume, oh, it's just Deadpool without the suit or the scars, but I mean,
they ruined an
he plays that
opportunity.
aura well, and I
They
don't
should
know.
have brought Kurt Russell back because they even name drop him because they call him Mr. Nobody and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Nobody said like this is how I could find you." And I was like, "Why couldn't they get Kurt freaking Russell back? Like he would have been great to be sitting with The Rock and his daughter at a cafe. Like Levi, would
He
you
probably is like, I don't want to do it anymore.
well, it's like I just feel like that would have been such a good get because like he could have been the through line because what happened was you have Ryan Reynolds on one end trying to get Hobbs into this whole thing, and then you have some other random CIA guy who apparently Deckard Shaw beat up many years ago and didn't remember him. And I was like, well, that's good because I don't know if they even showed that on screen or if they did, I don't remember it either. So this guy, like, he's talking to Ryan Reynolds on the phone. He's like, yeah, I got him to join up on this. And do you think they're gonna hate each other when they see each other? And then that's when they both see each other, and they're like, no effing way or whatever. Like,
Ryan's just so one dimensional. It's almost grating. Like it's almost because, and I'm going to go back to Waiting, okay? Because Waiting, Ryan was one of my favorite characters in Waiting. Have you ever seen that movie before?
yeah,
Hmm.
Well, okay, and just as like and like, oh God, what was the other movie he was in? National Lampoon,
yeah,
Yeah,
Van
right?
Wilder.
Like
Van
yes,
Wilder.
like I loved Ryan Reynolds back then. Maybe I was just younger, but I feel like now he's just all of his shticks are just so forced. Pokemon, Deadpool, everything that I've seen him in the last couple years has just been so. We get it. You're funny. Yeah.
What about him and what was that movie with him and Sandra Bullock?
The Proposal.
Yeah,
Oh, with Betty White.
different type of. Yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah,
that movie. Yeah.
yeah. Different kind of character. He's still, then it wasn't so much of this quibby, smart aleck
Yeah.
asshole,
To me,
right?
just feel like he's like I don't even have to try. I can just talk and people like me. And
I
it's like
feel like he's taken that character and kind of sprinkling it on everything he does because it's been
Yeah.
successful. People lap it up like candy, right?
Yeah,
I
and the
kind of get
problem
it.
with a character like that is like if that's your bread and butter, it gets old quick because then
Yeah,
everything you do just bleeds out of that character.
exactly. And it
Yeah.
almost might ruin Deadpool a little bit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll give him credit because I think for Pikachu he wanted to do something completely different, but they were like Warner Brothers said, no, you're gonna do like a Ryan Reynolds, like you're gonna be just Ryan Reynolds, and he's riding that wave, and I get that. And you know what? As much as this guy frustrates me, he tries to be different. Chris Pratt as Owen Grady from Jurassic World is very different than Star Lord. I will give
Yeah.
him that. I will say
Yeah.
that he could be the same. He could be Andy Dwyer. He could do that, and he would be totally fine in everything he does forever.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do that, and it's like, bravo! Like you're
And
trying to be
it's
something
not
different.
forced. Like it's not like a stupid because Andy's very like dumb humor, right? Like it's not like that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I thought that was kind of maybe one of the biggest detractors of the film. And Levi, you said this too. It does go on for a bit longer than it probably needs to, but I don't know what I cut out. That's the problem. Is like it's just supposed to be like a fun, dumb movie. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you take out of the fun dumbness that you're like, we don't need that.
To me, I would like they could have taken out like the whole lab scene, and especially where it was like blowing up and stuff. Like they could have cut all that. I feel like it would have made the movie a little bit move along quicker. Because like that scene wasn't going to be the end all be all when because of the trailers you haven't even gotten to the war yet. So it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom because like we're fucking not even there yet. So
Yeah, that's true. One thing I did like though is even though at that moment I was like, oh, we're kind of at the end of the second act or whatever, because like I was starting to think about that, but I did like that Jason Statham, even though he wasn't super powered, he's still like the best driver maybe out of anybody in the Fast and Furious. Like Dominic Toretto is obviously up there too, but he did some stuff in that movie that like it was like yeah, obviously like nobody could really do this, but he realized that he couldn't beat like the Terminator of Idris Elba and his super motorcycle and stuff. So he's like, I'm just gonna outsmart you and basically make you crash through a bus and then get away because I'm driving this like amazing car. Like I was like, okay, I love it when you get a hero who does that where they're like, I'm clearly outmatched and this sucks, but we gotta figure this out. And then later on, I think he might be the one who's like, we gotta work together to bring him down. And that's when they both start just like doing like, oh, Rock gets a good headbutt. Oh, and they do that thing that Rock does in most all of his movies where he does that like he'll pick someone up and hold him, and like the
And
other one will
slam
come and
him.
like cross arm him and stuff like that. I
Um,
love the wrestling moves in a movie where they're like trying to kill each other, where they're like, I'm gonna kill this guy, but it's gonna look flashy. Like, I love that sort of thing. Man, I like these guys, and I'm really excited because there's like the Shadow Organization, and there's like this voice that they couldn't see. It was very Charlie's Angels, but who's like the main bad guy, and we don't know who that is yet. I thought for sure we'd get the tease of who it was, and I was like, is it going to be Ryan Reynolds? But that seems dumb because he's like in the CIA, so like why would he be running like a shadow organization? But I think they like kind of sequel bait it just enough to see if like people want to keep going with it. Like Levi, did you get that vibe yourself?
I did. I don't know if it's necessary. I'd actually just take a whole like Shaw film, like I said earlier.
Yeah, although
I don't,
yeah.
or even a Dom and Shaw, like that would be cool. But
I don't think they'd
'cause
have
it
the
would,
same
I
chemistry
feel
though.
like it would act more. It would be more of a serious tone film. But
Oh, for sure, yeah, because I think, and that would be hard to go back. I just want the Shaw family, all four of them now, to be in the next movie, like with Luke Evans and his sister and Helen Mirren, and to have Dwayne Johnson in there. But like, I
like
just,
a mobster kind of family thing going on.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah, or like a heist movie again, like Fast
And I
Five,
mean,
his
I
last heist
sound like I'm
movie.
dogging on this film, but I had fun. All in all, I had fun.
You had a good
You just
time.
and that's what it is, right? It's
gotta
just
lower your
fun. It's not
expectations.
necessarily the quality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just lower your expectations going in and let yourself just enjoy the cinema.
I just want to like, I want to teleport to Joe and just go see it because I just like know he would like it a lot. And I can't. It is a very, like you said, Levi. It's very Batman, Superman. But like, you look at these two characters, and if you got a buddy who's into this, you go with them, and you're like, all right, you're that guy, and I'm this guy. And they ruined a lot of the good stuff in the trailers. Like, there's that moment with the elevator stuff, like where he's like, on three, we're gonna jump down these ropes, basically. And he's like, yeah, never tell me what to do. And he's using the elevator, and they're kind of like, it's always like showboating. Like even when they're about to die, it's still like, I'm better than
Mhm.
you. Like I'll prove that I'm better than you. And I just love that. And it's just, man,
But do you feel like it hinders the film that there's almost no risk to their actual life because they're like superpowers. They're like superhuman themselves.
yeah, I get that. I think the point of the movie though is not to feel like that's the hope is that you watch this and you know that there's no risk. Like it's just supposed to be fun and you don't like want to worry that Jason Statham might die. You'd be like, "No." Like there isn't like a moment like that where you're like, "Oh, one of them might die." It's like, "No, there's never that moment." Like they get beat up. Yeah, but they're fine. I don't know. I think it's for a movie like Avengers where you're like, "Oh, one of them could die. This is a pretty serious thing." But I think for this movie, because it's so stupid and it knows that it's dumb, it would have been weird to have any melodramatic moments, like that. For me, I don't know.
If any one of these guys, these actors, were to listen to this review, they'd be like, "What do you mean we know we're dumb? What do you mean?"
No, I mean like the movie itself knows that it's just supposed to be big dumb fun.
It's supposed to be zany. Yeah, it
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
zany and out
Well, it's
there.
like it's like
Without
Deadpool.
being animated, but
Yeah. But I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I like kind of want to see it again just because I want to support something like this because it wasn't anything. It wasn't trying to be anything. It wasn't like it wasn't like being like we have to be super serious because Avengers Endgame made like a little under $3 billion, and that's what makes good movies. It's like no, it knows it's a big corny action movie. And I love that. Like how many of those movies have we seen in the past 5 or 10 years that have been like of this caliber, like with these stars? Like obviously there's like B and C tier ones that probably come out all the time, but like to this, like to have this much of a spotlight on it, I don't know, man. I've just been waiting for this for a long time. I'm excited that it exists. Levi, can you give us a score or at least even a recommendation if you should or should not see this?
Go see it, but I'm gonna give it like a 6.5 out of 10
Okay, 6.5.
for what it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
Take it for what it is. Don't take it as like, oh, he hated it. Like it does. It's for an action, silly, zany, unrealistic movie. It's
Yeah, fair
it's
enough.
not on par with like Lord of the Rings. Don't go in expecting that.
Yeah, never. Honestly, here's another thing. Never go into a movie expecting anything to be Lord of the Rings. We did that with The Hobbit. Also wasn't Lord of the Rings. Just don't do it. Just don't. Same with Star Wars. Same with any of these movies. Next Avengers movie you see, don't walk in and be like, "This is the next Endgame," because you're gonna be disappointed, baby. Like I don't care. I don't care what you think. Yeah, for me, it's probably like a 7 or 7.5. I didn't do like a review of this because like I don't know. I was just like, it doesn't really need it. We'll do it here. This will be the review for it. But I think if you like Dwayne Johnson, I think if you like Jason Statham, I think even if you're not a huge fan of either of them, neither one gets played up way too much where you get sick of them. They do kind of split the screen time. Idris Elba's great, and I don't know the movie, the CGI, even though that's kind of lacking, it's just a fun movie. It's supposed to be fun. There are moments where you're like, oh, maybe that could be sad or whatever, but it's about family. It's about making new friends, and it's about just kicking ass, baby. And like, there's plenty of it. And watching Dwayne Johnson do a big freaking headbutt in slow motion to Idris Elba is pretty great. Like some of that stuff, their slow mo stuff was pretty good. You're like,
Ooh, this
I
almost
get that Hobbs and Shaw are badass and all, but they're actually doing damage to Black Superman.
yeah, and we only remember now. Everyone who's listening to this, he calls himself that. And there's a moment where Dwayne Johnson's like, "Here comes the kryptonite," which I thought was great. But they do damage to him eventually, and he's like stronger, but it's one of those things where like he gets good hits off on each of them plenty of times, but it's one of those things where they're like, oh, we're the heroes, so we've got like a crazy resilience, and he's not used to getting hit more recently, so they start kind of getting those hits off on him, and then he gets discombobulated where he can't track their movements anymore, which is really cool because like if you're gonna beat someone who can kind of predict your movements, like you got to have 2 or 3 people like hitting him at the same time, so it's just like you're like I got one hit, it's like the back of the head, and it's just like oh whoa, like getting kind of messed up. Yeah, he was cool. Also, he used pistols, which I really enjoyed. He had like a pistol that was like right here, and he'd just be like, boom, boom, like he could do that kind of stuff. I was like, I like, I like that. And
Which one?
Idris Elba.
Okay.
Yeah, Brixton, and he was cool because he got to drop like some like MI6 guys in the very beginning, and you got to see like how strong and fast he really was, and you can tell like when he goes up against a good fighter like Jason Statham, and he kind of like he's blocking all the moves and gets the hit, and you're like, okay, he's a pretty big threat, but. They should have just given 1 or 2 of those other henchmen those superpowers, because this would have not been a problem if there was like 4 or 5 of these guys. Even if you lose the guns, it would have been like, oh, those guys are very scary, like like very intimidating, Terminator-esque, like
Are
won't
we
stop.
talking like Winter Soldier or Captain America level?
Uh, Almost, yeah. It would be like he would kind of and again, this wouldn't really happen, I don't think, but like he would hit Jason Statham or Shaw, and he would kind of go flying, like he'd go like 10 feet, or he'd just grab someone and be like
yeah,
just
I'd
throw
say
him.
like a
Dude,
Winter
that's
Soldier.
breaking their ribs.
Yeah, Winter Soldier with like a sprinkling of Iron Man.
Yeah, and I know in the movies they kind of do it up a little bit to show them flying, because like if someone hit you that hard, it might not throw you that far, but it might like just impact. Like, it would be like, oh, your sternum's broken. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of Winter Soldier-esque. So that sort of thing, Joe, I think you would enjoy, because it's like this character who's like, I will not stop until I fulfill my mission, and they're just kind of like just going after you. But this guy, again, like Levi said, he's kind of suave. He's got a few little jokes here and there. And he has his reasons. Like he's trying to get revenge on Shaw because Shaw killed him almost, and that's why he's working for this group. But yeah, yeah, they're setting it up for sequel, and I will totally be there for it, and I hope it does well. And as somebody who's been on the show before, Rob from Rob Plays said, he's like, Universal shouldn't keep trying to make their own like dark universe or MCU. Just build off this, because like this is already like a universe that's established, and if Fast and Furious is really going to end in 2 more movies, you're going to have to start thinking about what's the future for the franchise, and that might be Hobbs and Shaw. Like that might be one of the things they do.
Why do they say it's going to end?
They said that there's only going to be 2 more movies. They're going to stop at 10,
Oh,
which they even joked about recently. Someone saying they could go to space. They got to go to space in 10. I know it sounds ridiculous, but just be like, they're like, we only have one person who could, or like one team who's crazy enough to go up in this like hodgepodge of a NASA shuttle, and it's just Dominic Toretto just walks. He's like, strap me in, like or whatever. It's like, I guess those were Sylvester Stallone, but still, like I would just love to see him just sitting in that spacesuit, just ready to go. Oh my gosh, he's just like, they're like, there's a fight on Mars. Do you know how to drive a rover? And he'd be like,
They drive themselves these days, I hear.
I would love it. But yeah, Joe, you should totally see it. Like I said, I wish I could see it with you, and I think you'd have a good time. Do you have any questions, Joe, or any thoughts before we move on?
Is it bad to say that I don't really?
No, we just did a good
Okay.
job. Yeah.
Okay. How are the cars in here? Are they likable or laughable?
what car?
They're not as much a focus as they were in previous films. I will say this:
Okay.
I forget if I think it's a McLaren or something. Whatever Statham's driving is.
Aston Martin?
Okay, he drives an Aston. She drives a McLaren. Somebody's
Okay.
driving a McLaren. But either way,
Maybe Maserati? I'm trying
Someone
to think of
driving
British
a
cars
McLaren?
because they're British. He drives Aston Martin, or has in the past. What would she drive? Maybe a Maserati. I'm pretty sure that's.
That's
Is that British?
stereotyping, Joe. Also, there is a moment, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but they're walking through his garage of cars, and Dwayne Johnson sees a Mini Cooper or something like it, and he's like, oh, that seems like the perfect size for you or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I used that for a job in Italy. And I don't think it was a Mini Cooper, but it kind of looked like one. I didn't know if it was like kind of a wink to the Italian Job, because I like to think that like Handsome Rob from the Italian Job just became Deckard Shaw. Like they're like he started
Oh.
off as like this criminal, and then he like went into the military.
Was
Like
the Audi R6 or A6 in there or whatever he drove from the transporter? Was there an Audi sitting there?
I don't know. There might have been. See, now that is a funny joke if like they had one of each of his cars from his previous films like that or franchises. I don't know. Jason Statham just looks like he's having a good time, and also that dude, like, he's a fit dude. Like he's obviously short compared to Dwayne Johnson, but like, man, like that guy, he's scary. Like, yeah, I was like,
He's stout and lean,
yeah,
man.
he's scary. He's scary. But yeah, everybody go check it out. Go support it. Not that they need it. I'm sure it's doing well. I'll probably look it up here when we're kind of diving into
Yeah,
time.
The Rock was just on press tour in China, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they said it didn't have a great U.S. opening, but internationally did really well.
And you know what the nice thing was? They didn't do. It wasn't like, well, I guess you know where that means we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go to China. Like I feel like a lot of these action movies are like, we gotta go to China so that way we can say it was in China and we can promote that it was in China. Like they
Just
didn't
a quick
do
stop.
that here. Yeah, there's a quick stop on the way to Samoa in China, and then they were like, no. But yeah. Anyway, that means we get to move into the next segment of the show that I like to call, Levi likes to call, Joe likes to call.
Time killers.
That's right, it's time for Time Killers. It's the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing. Joe, you've been quiet for a little bit just because we've been talking about this. What have you been killing time with?
Ooh, what have I been killing time with since our last movie watching moments?
Debacle?
Debacle.
Wine Country.
Yeah, Wine Country was the debacle. Highwaymen was awesome, worth a while. What have I occupied myself with lately? Black Sails. I'm super into that show. Watch it every afternoon if I am able to come home at lunch. Otherwise, I watch it, in the evenings when I'm settling down after a long day. It's good stuff. It's kind of hooky. Like I get hooked into it. No pun intended with the hook. Obviously, no Captain Hook in this one. But no, it just is really good. Sometimes the sexual features are maybe a little over the top, but who knows what it was really like historically. I'm sure there was stuff like that going on like crazy. Probably not with as pretty of people either. Needless to say, it's just the things that are going on all simultaneously. The characters are pretty gripping themselves. There's some unexpected moments similar to like something you get out of like Game of Thrones. It's not as fantastical as Game of Thrones. It's much more grounded in reality, but overall, it's entertaining, fun, gripping, somewhat intense. There are some slow moments, but I enjoy it. I really do. The whole pirate thing, I was talking like, really, what do we have besides Pirates of the Caribbean? And that sometimes is a bit of a joke, right? Well, this kind of scratches that itch a little bit. I think it's really cool. It's not the big screen, obviously, but it's pretty close. It's a Showtime series or whatever. It's decent. Budget's there. I mean, everything looks legit. It's really kind of cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe you said that about Pirates of the Caribbean because that's Levi's favorite franchise. Right, Levi? Levi saw Pirates 5, what was it, 4 times? Or was it 5?
Oh, I actually have never seen it.
A lot of people didn't. I'm sorry. Anyway, Joe, anything else you've been killing time with?
No, that's really been it.
Cool. Levi, how about you, my friend?
Effectively back into Monster Hunter. I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah, we
That
got
game-
that Kieran.
To get you back into it, it feels a little overwhelming to get back in. I'll say that. After a while gone, you're kind of like, oh man, there's just so much to do. But then you start seeing all the things you have to do, and it's like, okay, I've got some shit I gotta get done.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're kind of back on the trail, and I kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
you can't leave us. You must do this. And
I
don't
have like
leave.
a collection mindset, right? So love Pokemon Go, love games like that where you have to farm. Like I'm like, oh, I need to get every weapon. I need to get every piece of armor. Like, um, but yeah, back into that. What am I watching? Um, I what am I watching right now? I guess I'm not really watching anything right now. Oh, I still watch Smallville from time to time.
Yeah,
I'll,
bro.
This is
I'll throw it on when I'm
somebody's
like,
baby. Come on. It's sickening. I feel it's
Rummy Zero would be
unfair,
appalled.
I don't care
Oh,
how cheesy sometimes that show.
baby.
It's just great.
Oh, that reminds me that there's a really good chance, I don't know if it's completely confirmed yet, but for Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is kind of like the big finale, especially for Arrow that's coming up here soon, I believe Tom Welling is actually going to show back up as a Superman, maybe. And I wanted to tell Joe this, so.
maybe worth a watch then.
Maybe worth a watch. Also, Brandon Routh is coming back, which is funny because he plays the Atom on like the DC or the
Yeah, the
Arrowverse,
robot
but he's gonna come
type
back
guy.
as like the Kingdom Come Superman. I don't know. And also Kevin Conroy, who plays the voice of Batman, is gonna finally be like a live action Bruce Wayne, like an old Bruce Wayne. I was like, well, about freaking
This
time,
is all
dude.
happening in Arrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be their Crisis on Infinite Earths, like big like conglomeration event thing, and I was like, good for them. If Arrow's gonna
And
do
that's how they're ending Arrow.
Arrow apparently is going to have like less. I don't know if they said like every episode that I saw this recently. Like every episode is going to be like an event episode because it's going to be the last season of Arrow, and they want it to be like boom, 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 but like just kind of
What is
building
Arrow
up.
on season 20?
Season 8.
Oh wow, I
Which
feel
is
like it's
pretty
been
good.
going on for quite a while.
Yeah, which is that's pretty. Actually, 8 seasons for any show nowadays is actually like a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
So the fact that they got this far, but then I think like Stephen Amell announced that they weren't going to do anymore, and then the lady who plays Felicity was like, "I'm out. Like I'm not doing season 8 or whatever," and I was like, "Oh no!" Like, so I feel like it sucks because like he's got the power to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be done with this," and because I'm done with this, it's got to be done. It's like if James Spader from Blacklist was like, "Hey, I don't really feel like playing this character anymore, and I kind of want to do other things." Like they'd be like, "Well, I guess we're not doing Blacklist anymore because you're like the reason people are
I
watching
mean,
Blacklist."
that's why they should have canceled House of Cards.
They probably should have just canned it. But
It wasn't great after without Kevin Spacey.
now I don't know for sure if Tom Welling is completely confirmed for it. But the last I had heard that he was going to be back, and all I'm thinking is like, well, might as well call Rosenbaum too and shave that hair, you know?
He'd probably do it.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I think they're both happy with how they kept off Smallville. I've heard on, in fact, you should really go listen to these podcasts. They're pretty good. Not to advertise other podcasts on our podcast, but Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You. He does an entire week dedicated to Smallville and interviews like Kristen Crook. He interviews, Tom Welling kind of interviews him, or they kind of banter back and forth in one of them, which is cool. Second time Tom's been on one. And then who else did he have there?
I've never seen this dude with hair before, and now my life is a lie.
Are you kidding me? Have you ever seen Sorority Boys?
No.
Oh, come on.
Who does he play in
Rosenbaum's
Guardians of the
actually a good
Galaxy?
actor. He plays a CGI faced guy, but he's in there.
Oh,
You can't really pick him out well, but
New information. Apparently, Stephen Amell really wants Tom Welling. He said, "I would want Tom Welling. I want what the fans want." I don't know if that means he's in or not, but it sounds like they're trying to get him. And they're trying to get other people from Smallville
but
to get into it.
the Arrow is not the same Arrow that was in Smallville, though, right?
That's the point. Like, okay, the Crisis
Yeah,
on
it's
Infinite Earths means it's a crisis on every
Yeah.
Earth.
Oh, I see what you're
Everywhere.
saying.
Like,
so it would be him in the
multiverse.
future from his Earth coming, and this would be a different Arrow, right? So it'd be kinda
Gotcha.
cool.
I shouldn't make this joke, but I'm gonna do it. If they could just get him for 5 minutes to just be like drunk Batman, I would take Ben Affleck just for like just a moment. Like just be like he's like being Batman. I hate it. They're like, oh, that's a sad universe. Like that's it's like
the real world. Oh, he interviews also John Glover, who played Lionel Luthor in Smallville. He also interviews the creators of Smallville, Algo and Miles Miller,
I'm not
which is
surprised because
actually really interesting.
like he's probably really good friends with all of them, so it's probably like, hey, do you just want to be on my podcast? Come be on my podcast. I want you to come hang out with me on my podcast. But yeah, I don't know. We might see Tom Welling. That's all I'm trying to say. I just want to say that briefly.
That'd be really cool. I know he was on. He did quite the stint on. Oh, what's the hell show? Oh,
Reaper.
oh,
Lucifer?
no, Lucifer. There you go. He was like some captain of a police department or something like that.
Lies. He could be the captain of the world, like the universe's police department. He's Superman. Uh, yeah. Briefly, I want to talk about this before I get into mine. Hobbs and Shaw production budget 200 million. Right now, it's sitting at 179 worldwide, which is not great.
Oh wow.
Domestically, it made 60 million. Foreign, it's made 119 million. We will see though, because this movie is so funny. Because most of the movies we talk about here on the show, they like just destroy their budgets. They're just like, oh, we're way beyond that by this point. But I want to see if it's got legs. Maybe word of mouth and the fact that it dropped in August like this, it didn't drop right around Endgame, which I think would have been a huge mistake. Maybe we'll give it a chance here. But also keep in mind too, Lion King just came out, and I think a lot of people are still seeing that. So
Yeah, well, and right now is a bad time for movies unless you are like a Lion King, because people are busy.
And even Lion King didn't do
People are out
great.
and about traveling.
Oh no, Lion King did very well. I think it's
Yeah.
probably crested
A billion.
968 968.5 million right now.
Oh, it might have done well sales. I mean, just go watch it and you'll see.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh.
Was it good? No, but did it make money? Yeah.
Apologies, that's almost 2 billion worldwide now with a production budget of nobody knows. It says NA, so I would assume North America. Whatever it took to make North America, that's how much it took to make the Lion King.
Beyonce is probably like half of that budget. Let's be real.
Yeah, or her fans, honestly. Like this was a
I'm Noah.
this is
Yeah,
kind
her
of
fans were half of the.
it's very paint by numbers. And you know what, Disney? Guess what? I love you still. You're a business, and you just took it. You know what? They went for a sure bet, and you know what? I'm okay with that. They go to they go to casinos, and they're like, hey, you want to play roulette? And they're like, yeah, just put a bunch of black paint all over it, and we're gonna bet on black. We're actually gonna put a ton of money on black. And they're like, what was it? And they're like, oh, it's Disney, so they could do
Well,
this.
bet on black. Oh, sir, you just spilled that can of paint all over the roulette wheel. Yeah, bet on black.
And they put a gun to you. No, I'm just kidding. No, Disney would never. But anyway, for me, it's been more Monster Hunter with Levi a little bit here and there, and a little bit Symphony of the Night. Watching anything? Got to catch up on the finale of The Bachelorette because Bachelor in Paradise starts up soon. My guilty pleasure. But guess what? No guilt because I just love it. I watch that show and I'm like, oh my god, what if I had to choose? I'm like, oh, I don't have to. So it's not my problem. It's not my problem. And they always ask the same questions. I love it. It's so predictable for me. But besides that, I watched a little bit of Rick and Morty recently just to kind of jump back to it. And I think I'm going to restart Gravity Falls, which is on Hulu. And everybody should watch it. It's really good. Don't let it scare you off that it was a Disney, like it's a Disney cartoon. Like it's not just for kids. It's actually very intelligent, very well written, very funny, and full of a lot of fun secrets and stuff. So if you like really good animation, jokes, or maybe even just mystery and intrigue of the Northwest of the United States, you should check it out. It's actually really cool. Yeah, I think we're going to move into the final segment of the show, which is community feedback and questions.
And questions.
All right, this one comes in from Missile Mage. He says, you get a role in the next Quentin Tarantino movie. How do you die? Joe, how do you die in the Quentin Tarantino movie that you're in?
I'm thinking No Country for Old Men. What's that weirdo guy?
Weirdo. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what am I talking about? It's the one that played the evil guy in one of the
Javier Bardem.
movies. Yeah, oh my god. I would die at his hand trying to kill him as a lawman. And it would be some grotesque way, whether that be like a bullet to the throat or something crazy.
Wait, you're not like the Coen brothers directed No Country for Old Men.
Son of a bee. I thought that was Quentin Tarantino.
To give you a little suggestion here, Fragan did say, death by dialogue, characters talk me until I'm dead. Which is, I was like, that sounds about right.
Give me some Quentin movies.
Kill Bill,
Yeah.
Django Unchained.
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight, Inglorious Bastards.
There was another one that people are like screaming at me right now. Something about dogs, Reservoir Dogs. There we go. That's one of them.
It would
That's
probably
not
be. I would probably get killed in real life by fans outside a red carpet
No,
event.
no, Joe, you're in the movie, and how is your
Yeah.
character gonna die? Like, it's a simple question. He's like, but how do I die? Like, am I really dead? Like, God, your teacher's supposed to
the guy
hate
in a
you.
Quentin Tarantino film, like the point is, it's very
Over the top.
it's over the top, and it's like it's either really smartly done or it's like very stupid. You're just like you just get shot.
Yeah, like person will get shot from a distance with a revolver and get pulled into the next room. Like, it doesn't make sense physics-wise.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
I mean, one of my favorite deaths out of any of those films is like from Kill Bill, right? When she delivers the money in a suitcase and inside is like actual a snake, and it's just like But
Oh, I like the part where she kills Lucy Liu by like she cuts through her and then she like puts a sword in and then it's like her head like slips apart. It's like,
yeah,
I like that.
Okay, sure, something like that. I don't care for Quentin Tarantino at all. So
you're
I could never even watch
you're
like 5
canceled.
minutes of Kill Bill.
I completely agree with Joe. I think Quentin Tarantino stuff's a little bit overrated. I think some of it's okay, but I think
agree with
it's
both of you.
that's
Some of
okay.
my favorite all-time movies are Quentin Tarantino films, and both can go yourself.
You named 2 Kill Bill movies, and what were the other? He's done like 8.
Okay, Django Unchained, Kill Bill, Kill Bill 2, Inglorious Bastards. That's 4 just there. Hateful Eight. That's 5.
Not a great movie.
Some of my top favorite films ever. Hateful Eight was great.
No wonder he didn't like Hobbs and Shaw. I'm just kidding. Are you gonna see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Of course.
Really?
It takes a little bit more of a sophisticated, kind of. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Anyway, to each their own. Doug doesn't like Quentin Tarantino movies either.
I think it's just the dialogue that gets me. Like sometimes they're going on and on and on about stuff.
Totally think Django Unchained is like a masterpiece, but anyway.
Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance, I'd probably say.
I would probably be like, I don't know, ripped in half by 2 horses. Like, like rope.
It's supposed to be like a funny question, and you're like, I want it to be something brutal that you've probably seen in other movies.
If you're gonna die in a Quentin Tarantino film, it's got to be brutal, right? So,
I mean, his answer was great.
and like somebody slaps both of the horses, and they both run.
My character walks.
No. They try and rip you in half, and instead of you ripping in half, one of the horses rips in half, falling, and you die from shock.
We here at Critical Reviews do not believe in animal violence, but we're also not vegetarians. So what does that say about us? Bunch of hypocrites. That's what we are.
I've never eaten horse, never tried it.
Oh my god!
That we know of. My guy, I'm gonna walk into a bullet factory that has got just a ton of bullets, and they're all just sitting face up. And there's like sparks once in a while, and you think like a bullet's gonna like shoot me, and I'm gonna get like peppered for like 20 minutes, and like that goes on for like 10 minutes of me like slowly walking through this place, and then I just fall and like smash my head on something, and like maybe that's when the bullets go off. Like my guy's dead, and they're like, well, at least he's gone, and then it's like that's when they all start going off and the whole place explodes. Yeah.
Joseph, I had to wipe my eyes. That made me cry. Anyway,
I was seeing spit take with Gatorade coming out of your nose.
Oh, that would be really good. Like die during like a product placement. They're like you're like eating a bunch of Cheetos, and then you just like couldn't stop eating Cheetos. And Cheetos like
character. He's known for drinking Tabasco.
Just Chester the cheetah comes and just bites your face off.
No, I like this one. I'm in an old western, and they call me Tabasco Joe.
After every kill, he drinks Tabasco.
Choice is whiskey and Tabasco,
Oh
and
my God.
and I just take a big old swig, and my partner makes me laugh, and I do a spit take. Only it comes out my nose, and I die from cranial bleeding.
Cranial bleeding.
I also want to be the guy that you kill with that nostril. Like it goes right through me and sets me on fire. There we
Well,
go.
that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for
Yep, exactly. I mean, that's all, folks. See, this is what you get when you ask us a question like this. We're gonna go off the rails with it. Quentin.
I just have this mental image of like a horse. It's just terrible. It's so bad, Joe. But and we love animals here, but just like the rope and it's like in the middle of the horse and it's like just two halves of the horse. Like,
like, what's the horse's name? All right, Buckeye, give him a tug. And he starts pulling, and he just rips in half. And you turn and look, and you're like, oh, looks like I'm all right.
I can't.
We also have to say Pulp Fiction on here because there's somebody who's probably like, there's probably a lot of Tarantino fans who are actually watching this. If you love Tarantino, that's totally fine. You love him. That's great. That's okay. Just Joe and I are the two people on the planet who don't like him, and that's fine. All right, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I just watched Hateful Eight and was bored out of my flippin' mind. Like, I was like, come on. It had Kurt Russell in it, which also there's like brutal. I think he dies in that movie because he like starts vomiting up blood, but it's like way too much, and it's like, oh god. Yeah, great question. But if you ever have a question or a topic for this show, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to any of us. You can tweet us at Twitter or on Twitter at GoCritical. It's capital G, capital C, or just me personally. I'm a JimmyGood013. This week, I want you to send me a GIF. Just send me a funny GIF. I just love a funny GIF. They sent me the one of Ryan sent me the one of Scar last week, just going, "I'm surrounded by idiots," and then I said, "Oh, that's how I feel like I'm on the podcast sometimes." Just kidding.
I saw that comment. I almost didn't join the podcast.
Come on, I was trying to incite a Twitter war. I was trying to fan the flames of a Twitter war, but I didn't. I get nothing. Anyway, Joe, if they want to tweet at you, where can they find you?
At Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L.
Excellent. And Levi?
And Levi, if they want to reach you.
Don't tweet me. But I'm at Levi Fletcher.
Excellent. Good. No, tweet him. Tweet him the most. This hashtag for this week, we talked about Hobbs and Shaw. Just the hashtag either Hobbs or Shaw. I mean, just Hobbs or just Shaw. You have to pick one. You can't have both. I don't know why we're gonna make you pick.
Yeah,
But
which one do you prefer?
also maybe tag like Dwayne Johnson or Jason Statham, because you never know if we can get something go. Like, I'd love to have him on the show. That'd be great. What if one week you guys just tuned in?
So we heard what you said about our movie, how we didn't take ourselves seriously, and we knew it was a dumb movie, and we made it. And yeah, we don't admire you for that. Bye.
I think they would respect the fact that we were honest about it, as opposed to just kissing up to him. We're like, it's a 10 out of 10. Like, you know, 'cause they wouldn't want that. They also make a joke about like The Rock's eating habits, because like they bring him a ton of like they give her like his daughter a stack of pancakes, or like they're gonna give it to him. He's like, no, that's for her. This is all for me. And there's like 4 other servers who are coming out with like food, and they're like, is it cheat day? He's like, yeah, it's cheat day. And I was like, this should have been the sushi place. Like, it should have been
Did
just
he
like.
say that?
He
That it was cheat day, yeah.
He said it was cheat day, dude. It's just about them. It's just about them. That's what the movie is.
I mean, him in real life being injected into the movie. Like, his cheat days are pretty epic. Like, 3 pizzas and then a big old thing of, like, chocolate chunk fudge, peanut butter brownies, and a glass of milk. It's like,
delicious.
I wish I could cheat like that any day, like once a year, like a million slices of pizza, great pizza, and a big old platter of brownies. Oh my God. I mean, you die. I might die, but I'm a big dude.
But you know what won't kill you? Supporting this channel. So if you want to just like and share, donate, you guys know. You know how to support us. I was trying to find a really good segue out of there, but I couldn't do it. I used my good joke earlier on Joe, and I almost killed him with the Gatorade.
Yeah, we don't want another incident like that.
We don't. But I appreciate you guys listening to us and hanging out with us, and let us know if you guys saw Hobbs or Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw. Did you see Hobbs or did you see Shaw? Like, if they had to. That's why the movie's not doing well. People are like, I gotta see it twice.
I only have one eye.
That would be amazing if they're like, so we shot the movie twice, but it's from each of their perspectives. But the whole time, it's like them sleeping, like them like showering. It's like it's only them like eating, and it's like, oh, you're like, I didn't see that, but I saw Shaw, and then I understood Hobbs better. But yeah, you guys should go check it out.
Actually, released a movie like that? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's brilliant, but it would half like your sales, so maybe that's why they would never do it. That's the trick. Unless you did like a movie that was like half, like it was an hour or like 2 hours, and the first hour was Hobbs, and the second hour was Shaw, like, you know, or something like that. Anyway, you're welcome, Universal. I just gave you a great idea. But yeah, I appreciate you boys being here. I appreciate that you guys were hanging
Jimmy
out.
Bankrupt Universe. Jimmy Bankrupt's Universal podcast.
From the inside. And guess what? Disney, you're welcome. We've been working together the whole time, baby. Like,
They're like, where'd you get this idea? I don't know, some kids, podcast. It was a good idea.
Disney must have got to him first. It's a trap.
it is a trap, and you just hear in the background, like, oh, like, you did it again, Jim. And I'll be like, anything for you, Mick. They'll be like, do I get to ride Space Mountain now? He's like, as many times as you want. Yes, it's 2 because I'm gonna get sick. Like, I really am. Can I go on Countdown again? They'll be like, we call it.
Where the tracks out?
Where the tracks out. I think they fixed it a while ago, so it's not as bumpy as it used to be. But I kept thinking to myself, if I ever get hurt on a Disney ride, there's gonna be plenty of hush money. And you know what? I'm gonna be totally fine with it. I'm gonna be like, my family will be set. Like, it's a horrible accident, but the family's okay. I love
What
you,
about
Disney.
my emotional pain and suffering? My friend's gone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, pal.
Yeah, I'd sue Jimmy. I would do it
How would
in
you?
your name.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I would haunt you and like hang out, like a good haunting. Like we'd be like, like you're playing Blackout again.
Dude, that would be so creepy.
You're right. It would be.
Friend or not, it would be really creepy.
Anyway, there you go. That's the show. Appreciate you guys being on. Appreciate you guys all watching. Love and hugs to all of you. And until next week, just remember to adapt and overcome.